Hello everybody, and you're all very welcome back again to a second part of this video tutorial, little tutorial on the growing of seeds that were kindly given to the libraries by Grow It Forward. And I've done the beetroot, the salad leaves and the tomatoes in the last video, and now I'm going to do carrots and peas today. So I just want to explain how you go about doing these things as simply as possible, and that they don't always work, but hopefully you'll get some lovely crops and that you can send out some spare seeds when you have them growing to your friends and family, and then they can grow them on as well. And when I have these all sown, and hopefully when they grow, I will then do the next stage of pricking out what we need to prick out if we do, and how to do other little bits along the way so that you know what to do with the next stage. And it's a fantastic experience to grow something from seed. It's just so rewarding. So have fun and enjoy doing it. So on the instructions that came with the seeds, everything is there for you really, and it's up to yourselves then to play around with them and just have fun growing them. Now, as I said, I've done the other seeds. There was series of 5 packets in the pack. So we have peas, first green shaft, and carrots, autumn king. And carrots can be tricky enough to grow, but we'll do our best. Now I'm dealing with these in containers today because I'm trying to do this for people maybe who wouldn't have access to a garden or a space to grow their stuff outside. And if you have a balcony or a back garden, you can grow a lot of stuff in containers. And I think I would start then with the peas. Now, they're fairly big, they're in the bottom of this packet. I'm just going to cut the top off, and I'm going to have a look and see what's in here now, how many seeds we have. We haven't that many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 8 pea seeds, which is fine. Now, for the pea seeds, for you to start growing them at home, you just get some toilet roll holders like this and a plastic carton of any description, and you fill up the containers with compost. So it looks like that, and you have them, you don't have it right up to the top, it's down about that much down in each one, because peas have quite a good root system. And then when they grow, hopefully you can just take out your little tube with all its roots intact and put it into a bigger container, and I will do that the next time. So these have been watered, and they won't fall apart, you know, when it's quite deep, the container. That's just that's another one which is a bit deeper. You can use also a shallower container, but a deeper one is better because they don't wobble as much in it. And you can put these on your windowsill then, and you won't have the water damaging your windowsill because this is plastic. But be careful when you're watering them. So this is a variety called Hearst Green Shaft, and I think that's a main crop pea. And when you have them grown, you can probably grow peas in a pot about this size. And if you're planting trees, or if you know anybody, they might be able to give you a pot, or you can use a bucket. But if you're using a bucket to grow the peas in, you need to put drainage holes in the bottom. Now, peas don't need feeding a lot because peas produce nitrogen with their roots in the soil. So when these have grown, be on the lookout for something that you can transplant them into to grow them on a little teepee of bamboos or some wire. We'll talk about that in the next video. Okay, so there we have our toilet roll holders filled with compost. You can also use these module trays, that recycled ones that plants have come in, and fill them with compost. And you could put 2 seeds in each one just to make sure that you get a good germination, and then you can plant those out. I mean, if you have a space in the garden, it's ideal to put them, but if you're in the ground. But one thing to be aware of are snails, slugs, birds, mice. Mice love pea seeds and they love to eat them. So just keep an eye out if you're planting them directly into the ground outside, that you that the mice and the birds don't pick them and eat them, because there's always something out there to get you. Now for these, I'm just going to get I should have a proper little dibber for doing this, but I just have the end of a pen or a marker. I'm just going to make a little hole in the top of the compost. This is quite dark now and it's hard to see what I'm doing here, but anyway, just going to make a little hole because I want to put them down a little bit into the compost. Let's go back over that now. Now I'm only going to put one in each of these. Come out, last little guy. Okay, but you can always go to the garden centre and buy a packet of seeds and start more at home. That's those guys now. That's them all. That's them all gone in. And then you get another little bit of compost. Now I forgot to tell you about the compost. On the guidelines from GIY, it said to use peat-free compost, which this is, and it's made from other coir and other plant materials that have been composted, and it's got added nutrients in it. It's quite fibrous. It's quite different to peat-based compost, which is this one, which is more crumbly, I would think. So I'm going to just put a little bit of this on the top of these now, just to cover them up. And then you need to put them on a windowsill or somewhere to let them germinate. Don't soak them too much because the peas might rot, but it's easier to have them soaked before you sow. And then you'll have to just watch and wait till you get a few little shoots coming out the top. And also, when I was doing the tomatoes in the Tetra Pak containers, maybe some of you might have seen, you can also grow peas and things in this. I cut the piece of card I cut from the top. I'm able to write the labels on, so you're not wasting anything. And you can pop that in at the side and put the date of when you've sown your seeds on it, so you'll see how long it takes them to grow. And then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 little plants of hopefully peas that will be able to be put into a container, and you can grow them on and have them as lovely peas. Now when your peas are fantastic to grow, and a variety of peas that I normally look for are ones that are mange too, but it's one that also can be let grow as a pod. So you pick them when they're very young as a mange too, and then if you don't get around to picking them, which sometimes happens, you can let them grow on and they'll produce a pod with peas and they can be podded. So that's a very good variety to grow also if you can get the seeds. Just look for the variety that it says, I think it's Petit Pois. I'm not sure now off the top of my head, but I actually haven't any this year. The seeds are very scarce, and you're very lucky to get these lovely ones from the GIY. So that's the peas. Now you can buy little peat pots that have that expand in water, and you can put your peas in those. You can also sow them, as say, in the modular trays, or if you're doing a lot, you can buy a bigger tray with little trays, or also egg cartons, which I forgot to bring in to show you. You can put some peas into egg cartons and grow them in that. It's another way of doing it. So that's the peas. I hope that makes sense to you now. And now I'm going to show you carrots. How to sow carrots. Now carrots are a different kettle of fish, because carrots need a little bit more minding, because carrots get a carrot root fly is a little fly, and it flies this way. And if the carrots are high in the container, if they're in the ground, they lay the eggs around the base and they eat the carrots. So a container is probably a good way to grow carrots, and you can also put maybe with cardboard or something or plastic around to make it higher. But this now is, I've left the compost down low in the pot, so that hopefully if Mr. Carrot Fly or Mrs. Carrot Fly is out and about, that they'll just pass over and they won't see the carrots. But carrots will take quite a while to mature, but usually if you're growing nice baby carrots, you can just take out the thinnings and then you can eat them. So you know, you can keep doing repeat sowing. This is an autumn one, so it's a carrot, a winter carrot really. And you need a very deep container if you're going to grow carrots, because carrots they're a root and they grow down. So we can't put them into a little shallow thing like this, because that won't work. And a lot of these don't like being transplanted. Carrots don't like being transplanted. So if you sow them very thickly, it's not ideal really to take out the little ones and move them somewhere else. They just don't like it. You can do that with beetroot. You can do it with your tomatoes. You can do it with the peas, but not really with the peas either. They don't like being root disturbance. They like to be left alone to grow. So that's the problem with the carrots. So again, now with the carrots, I'm just going to cut the top off the packet. And I'm going to give it a little click like this with my finger to make sure that the seeds are all down in the bottom. I only had a kind of a, oh yeah, these are the smallest seeds now we've had in the bunch. So this is going to be fun. But I think because it's in a pot, we're going to sow them broadcast on the top of this compost. And by broadcast, I mean they're not going to be in lines, they're just going to be here. And hopefully they'll all come up. And I'll try and sow them thinly, that I'm going to put them in my hand now. There's a fair few carrots there now. Might get 2 pots out of this. So there's a lot of carrots seed there on my hand. So you have to just get your thumb, dry thumb and forefinger. And we're just going to pick up little bits, and you can see where you sprinkle them. And if you can sprinkle them far enough apart, then you won't have the hassle of thinning them, and you can let them grow as individual carrots. Now it's very difficult for you to see this because I'm doing this down in a pot, but we'll keep going this way and I can see where they are. And this is in the peat-free compost. So I have never used it, as I said before, so it'll going to be an experiment to see how the germination goes in this. See where I have a few gaps. There's nothing as nice as a lovely juicy baby carrot pulled out of the soil. And that's another problem, that when you do pull them up, that there's a little gap where the other carrots are. So you need to water them in well, because Mr. and Mrs. Carrot Fly might do damage there also. Get down. Now let me see, there's a space there. I think that's probably enough now. So there's enough to sow at least 2 more pots this size of carrots, which is lovely because you'll get quite a good amount. I'm putting these back in now. Any kind of a container you can get that is good and deep will work. Now carrots like very free draining soil. They like no stones in their way, otherwise you'll get very strange shaped carrots because they'll have to avoid the stones on root down. And if you wish, you can add some grit into the compost and some soil if you have some. You can buy a bag of topsoil and you can buy horticultural grit, and you could mix the whole lot together. It's like making a cake in the wheelbarrow, and fill your containers, because peat-based composts, and I'm not sure about this non-peat based compost, but they tend to dry out very fast if you neglect to water it for a day or so. So you have to be very vigilant that you water them in the evenings and early in the morning when there's no sun, because you can scorch the foliage on the little baby plants coming up. So just be very vigilant of watering. Carrots should be okay to grow in this without any feeding. So we have them sown on top of the compost there now, and it'll be interesting to see. I just see a little guy there now that's a bit close. You won't be able to see them there now, but they're just very dotted very gently around on that. Now we have to cover them, and they need to be down about 1 centimetre to 2 centimetres deep. So a centimetre is about that much. So I'm going to put a fair bit of covering on top of these. So I'm going to get some more of this compost now, and I'm going to, it's very fibrous, this compost, so I'm not sure, maybe I'll be able to put it on like this. And then you'll have to, this has been watered underneath the original compost underneath. Because this is such a big container to put them in, you could, as I said on the other video, if anybody saw it, you could buy one of these tomato grow bag trays or any kind of a container or a basin like this, and you can stand your pot into it and the water will come up from the bottom. And I find sometimes it's easier if you're beginning at this, because if you get the watering can, and as I said in the last video also, this is a good rose for a watering can. It's got very tiny little holes, and instead of watering this way, you put it on your watering can and you water it with the water coming out from the top. So probably it's a good idea to keep an eye on these and keep them well watered when they start to germinate. Now this, I'll have to water this now and on the top, but I'm in my classroom, so I'll have to take it outside to water it with the watering can at a later date. You could use a little mister, a little pump or a little spray mister, just to damp the top when you're after sowing them, because you don't want to drive the seeds all over the place. Now I'm just putting in a little covering over all of that, just to make sure it's there's little, it's like there's little stones in this, there's grit, so it should be very good for carrots because they like the very good drainage. So hopefully they'll grow in this. I've ever only grown tomatoes actually in the ground, so, or carrots, excuse me, carrots in the ground. Now I'm just going to, with a dry piece, this is just a little piece of timber, I'm just going to firm that down so that the little seeds underneath this compost have had a nice contact with the soil underneath. And again, I have my Carrot Autumn King label put in there. And these now, at this time of the year, it's nearly May, and we've still had frost. So you could leave these outside, but maybe if you have cats or dogs or anything, just put a little piece of netting or something over it to protect it from cats getting into it, because they love lovely soft compost. Or a bit of chicken wire, make a little hat with a little piece of chicken wire to put over it, to cover it, to protect it from cats and dogs, or maybe even birds, because birds can, when they see something coming up, they root it out, especially with little bulbs, they do that. And the same with the peas. I think you could start those inside, and the tomatoes and the other vegetables I sowed on the other video will be inside for a little while, and then they can go out. And to harden them off, what you would do would be put them out during the day and then take them in at night for about a week, just to get them used to living outside on their own with the cold weather, because we can still get a bad frost up until May, and it could do a lot of damage, and it's very soul destroying when you put all the effort in to have your plants killed, and I know that to my cost also. So I can't guarantee how long these are going to take to germinate, but hopefully I'll be back with another video in a few weeks with showing you what has happened with what we sowed today. And then I hope you all have success with your seeds, and that you enjoy the experience, and that you'll have fantastic crop to share with your friends and family as the spring moves into summer. And thank you all for watching, and I hope you've picked up a few tricks along the way, and enjoy your gardening. And thank you all very much again. Bye.